President Biden has set a number of traps to stop Donald Trump from implementing his dangerous Project 2025 agenda. Let me explain. The first major trap or bulwark or shield against Trump implementing his Project 2025 agenda are the federal judges that President Biden has appointed. President Biden has appointed more federal judges than Donald Trump, but the background also of the federal judges that President Biden appointed are people who were civil rights lawyers, public defenders, people who were involved in consumer protection law, people who Republicans would never pick to the federal bench. And these are highly qualified people. We saw during the Biden administration a common tactic of MAGA is they'd run to a judge in the Northern District of Texas, and they would get that judge to issue nationwide injunctions to block President Biden's agenda at each and every turn. I want you to think about it this way. With over 200 plus judges across the country now who President Biden has appointed, civil rights litigators and people who will be ensuring that our Constitution survives the next 4 years will immediately file for nationwide injunctions in the federal courts of these new judges who President Biden appointed. While Donald Trump was so busy making posts threatening Europe and Canada and Mexico, behind the scenes, President Biden's head was down. He was working and making sure these federal judges were appointed, which they were. Now, one of the things that President Biden is doing as well is, in addition to the federal judges, is he's making sure that the CHIPS Act money, he's making sure Inflation Reduction Act money, he's making sure Infrastructure Act money is being invested into red states and blue states, and that people are going to see the benefits, and that there's no way Donald Trump could ever take them away from people because the benefits are already being initiated. And one of the, I think, brilliant things that we saw, and we saw it in this whole fight over the continuing resolution, how Biden has set these traps where he's pitting the interests of Trump against MAGA Republican Congress members who represent people who are benefiting from Biden's policies, but who have been lied to by Fox and Trump and others that it's not Biden who gave them these benefits. They claim that it's Trump who gave them these benefits. And so when these individuals in these red states or red congressional districts are finding out that, wait a minute, are you saying that my health care is going to go up? Are you saying that you're going to take away these prescription drug benefits that Biden gave? Wait a minute, you're going to go after my Social Security? Wait a minute. We were investing all this money in bridges and infrastructure, and you're going to stop that? Wait a minute. I understand that Donald Trump and Fox they were telling me to hate the Green New Deal, and they were defaming it and giving all these names. But wait a minute. The factory that's employing my family members is a factory that's building windmills or is building electric vehicles. Wait a minute. You're saying you're going to shut those down? You're going to cost us our jobs. Come on. And so what we saw, for example, with the continuing resolution is Donald Trump made all these demands and he said, or else shut down the government. And then the Republican members of Congress were like, yeah, now we're not going to do that because your demands are actually going to hurt our people. So it's a brilliant move where basically President Biden is putting these mini traps in each of these congressional districts that frankly benefit the people. And so when Trump tries to attack it with Project 2025, the Republican Congress members are like, no, don't touch that. And then they end up kind of fighting with each other. And we saw that there. So for example, the White House says, from coast to coast, President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law is rebuilding Americans' bridges. The Biden-Harris infrastructure package is funding more than 11,400 bridge projects across the country, including 18 of our most economically significant bridges that keep the American economy moving. Airports are being built across the country. I was just at LAX. There was a lot of revitalization there. The San Diego International Airport was rebuilt. And President Biden says, my administration is investing in airports across America because we know that you can't compete in the 21st century with 20th century infrastructure. So what's Trump going to do? Demolish the airports? Stop these projects from happening? And President Biden's daring him to do it. You see this? President Biden goes, the next 4 years will determine whether the incoming administration builds on our economic progress. If it does, then 10 or even 15 years from now, U.S. economic leadership will be even stronger than it is today, proving that when the middle class does well, we all do well. Another example here, Biden proofing it, stopping Trump from doing what he wants to do to unleash corporate greed. President Biden announces today the Federal Trade Commission is answering my call to lower costs and promote competition by banning hidden junk fees when you book a hotel or purchase event tickets. This builds on my work to ban junk fees and lower costs, saving many families hundreds each year. And look, the economic news under President Biden keeps getting good. I mean, the last economic report under Biden is that growth beats expectation, record growth GDP, record low unemployment. Just take a look at the accomplishment list. And you know how Donald Trump knows that he's trapped and worried? Because Donald Trump tried to instigate a government shutdown right now. Right? He failed at it, as I discussed earlier in this video, but he tried to tie a continuing resolution to fund the government with raising the debt ceiling to allow him to enact his Project 2025 agenda. And even the Republicans didn't support that. And they ended up just rejecting what Trump said. And they went with essentially the initial proposal. They removed some things just to act like they were doing something different. But Trump was trying to cause a shutdown because he is nervous that if he goes in with the economy healthy and things looking good, he's not going to be able to deliver on his promises as compared to President Biden. And history will look very kindly on President Biden and on day one when the prices of goods keep staying up, and Trump isn't reducing the price of eggs, and Trump's stock market is not as good as Biden's and Trump's not ending Russia's unlawful invasion in Ukraine on day one. All of those day one promises fail. Trump is worried that he's about to have his Herbert Hoover moment, his pervert Hoover moment. Brandon, did I say pervert Hoover? Herbert Hoover moment right there. Right? So remember, Donald Trump's asked by Jim Cramer when Trump went to the stock exchange. So should American workers invest in the stock market? Trump's response to Jim Cramer was, I don't know. I would worry if there was a dip. You're Mr. Accordion Hand saying you're going to fix everything and make it great. You worry if there's going to be a dip. I asked President Biden about this. I said, President, when I interviewed him, have you seen the full interview I did with him? If not, just make sure you check the full interview out. I said, President Biden, what are you going to do when Trump takes credit for the stuff that you did? And watch President Biden's response. He goes, that would be great. That means the American people are benefiting. Go ahead. Take credit for the things that I did. You see the reverse psychology? You see what's going on here? Here, watch this.
What are you going to do when the other guy, those out there bragging about accomplishments under you, the Medicare $2,000 cap is going to kick in 2025. And he's going to be out there saying, I did this. How's that going to make you feel when that happens?
Look, if it continues to benefit the American, look, I've invested more in red states than in blue states, all of these programs we just talked about. And the reason for that was the red states didn't operate very well, and they really hurt their constituents. So those factories closed and the like. The fact is that I represent all of America, not just Democrats. And I think what it's going to do is going to bring the country more together than separate it. And for example, you already have folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others saying, don't eliminate the factory after talking about the proposal that we're going to build that was the worst idea anybody's ever had. She didn't vote for it. So I think there's going to be a bit of a comeuppance here, but the bottom line is I'm convinced that over time, the American public will respond to what is the intention of the party to try to help ordinary people. And the fundamental change I made, and I made a speech at Brookings Institution about it recently, was on the economy. The fact is that we had a long time this idea of trickle-down economics. Let the wealthy do very, very well. They'll have so much money, it'll trickle down on people's kitchen tables and coffee tables and the like, and everyone will benefit. I've never bought that theory. And so what I've decided to do was to change it to build the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. Wealthy still do very well, but the middle class and working class people do much, much better. And that's exactly what's happening. And so I think the long-term prospects for the country are very good.
It's brilliant. And when Donald Trump tries to deviate from that, when Trump tries to violate the Constitution, boom, go to one of these 235 judges, or at the district court level, it's probably a little less than 235 totals. That includes circuit court judges, Ketanji Brown Jackson at the Supreme Court and district courts, and say nationwide injunction, block what Trump's doing, it's unconstitutional, nationwide injunction. And then Trump's going to have to go out and defend his policies and argue them publicly. And we'll all say, that's Project 2025 right there. It's a brilliant strategy by President Biden. So tell me what you think, and I hope you enjoyed that clip from the interview I did with him. If you enjoyed that, thanks for watching that, and we'll talk soon. Oh, hit subscribe. Can we get to 4 million together?
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.